Hey, what's up? It's Chris. I'm on my couch. I'm gonna be a little quiet for this one because it's like 10:30 at night and my husband's at work and it's prime filming time. And I've spent far too much time doom scrolling on TikTok, watching all the pretty street bikes and all the pretty cars. I own a little Mazda, so I'm trying to upgrade a car, maybe? Or get a street bike. But I am broke. That's okay. I can just stare at other people's pretty vehicles. Completely off topic for this video. I am going to tell you every single book I've read so far. This includes graphic novels, comics, and manga. That is the reason it is so high. Okay? So don't freak out. Freak out, man!
I'm not gonna do what everyone thinks I'm gonna do. Flip out, man!
When I tell you that I am at 35 books that I have read so far this year.
What did he say?
That's right. 35. Let's go! So, I have this book journal. I think my bandana just came undone. It absolutely did. This is my book journal. I got it for Christmas. I bought it for myself. And I don't regret it because I've written a lot in this actually so far. So, let me give you, these are my tiny pieces of paper that list all of the books that I've read so far. This is what we're going to be referencing, and then some of it, I'm going to tell you a little bit about each book, or if I enjoyed it. Some of them I have written in this book, some of them I don't. I don't read all the graphic novels in this one, mainly just novels. So, let's start with graphic novels, first and foremost. So I have read 23, that's right, 23 graphic novels. And this is my list. So this tiny piece of paper is my list. So let me get into it. These are not in order for the record, at least not at first, and then they go into order. I decided to split my stuff up a little bit. So 23 out of the 35 books that I've read have been manga, comics, or graphic novels. Keep that in mind, okay? I count that in my reading goals now. Usually when it comes to actual full-blown novels, I average about 50 a year. I'm on the lower spectrum. I don't read that fast. So, let's get into it. Middle West, 1, 2, and 3. I'll put them up on the screen, which is going to be a lot of overlay editing for me, but that's okay. These books were really good. I had a minor issue with, I wanted more context in the trilogy for the graphic novels, but overall, it was a really good series. Yeah, so the author is Scott Young and George Corona. It's a mature fantasy graphic novel. I rated it 3.5 stars. Let's see. I began reading the first book February 22nd and ended the third book on, March 6th. I had to think about the dates. So basically Abel is like a teenager and he's suffering from like domestic violence from his father, and he runs away, but he also has like storm powers. They explain it further in the book. I don't want to spoil the series. And it's his adventure, like trying to figure out how to get rid of the power that he has, or figure out a way to control it, and find family or familiar people that he can be close to. It was a pretty good series, to be honest. Like I said, I wish I would have got a little bit more backstory on his dad and his mom, and his grandpa's section felt really short, but overall, I absolutely loved all the side characters, and the art is beautiful. So, next we have Eden of Witches, number 5. I read book 1 through 4 in 2025. I read book 5 at the beginning, in January. It's a cute series. It's not completed, so I don't want to give it too much of a review quite yet. I'm having a good time with it. I think the villain in the story is very intriguing, and then there's like an obsessed woman kind of villain, And the main girl watching her, or reading up to book 5, has really come into her own in trying to learn her magical ability. The premise of the story is witches are responsible for the life on the planet, so like plants and the growth of greenery. And people were mass killing witches, and so most of the world is like deserted, and she's looking for the Eden, which is like the witch haven. And it's a really phenomenal series so far, and I cannot wait for book 6. And if book 6 is already out, which I don't know, it's because it hasn't hit my library yet. So I have How Could You? Oh, okay, hold on. I have this in my book journal. I rated this 1 star for completely... The reason I rated it 1 star is because of a personal thing. And the personal thing is I didn't go to school. I'm not a huge drama person. And it just felt like childish drama, the whole graphic novel. And there was no, like, comedic relief at all. Or any sort of relief from just the constant school bullshit. And I just didn't like it. And it sucks because a friend of mine recommended it to me because they know the artist. And I was like, oh, I'll give it a go. And it's not that it's bad. It's just that I didn't like it because it's not for me. And as I like to say, it's just not my cup of tea. And then when I talked to my friend about it, they had a very similar opinion, maybe not as intense, but we were on the same page. Yeah, I rated it 1 star. It is by Ren Strap. The art is beautiful. I do think that if you're looking for a drama-filled graphic novel storytelling of, like, college and how that can be very catty and, like, relationship breakups and such, I think it's a great read for someone who's into that kind of stuff. I chose it because of the art. My friend knew it. Queer author, gay characters. It sounded good. I finished it in about 5 days. It was just a casual flip. I was having a hard time with it, obviously. My summary of it was friends, ex-lovers, and tons of drama. 2 sets of friends. 1 in France and 1 in back home in Hillhawk. Yeah, I do think that the ending of the graphic novel was really good because it wasn't the picture-perfect, all-is-forgiven ending, and I do think that is important, especially when it comes to when you're writing dramatic characters that are dirtbags. I don't think that everyone always deserves a redemption, and I do think that people need to have those hard questions where somebody looks at you and goes, I think you need to figure your shit out before I consider being your friend again, because you were a jerk. And yeah. But overall, if you think that sounds interesting, hit it up. Basil and Oregano. I rated this 5 stars. It is by Melissa Caprigiloni. My bad. It is a fantasy/magic graphic novel. I finished it in 2 days. The summary of it is college for culinary magic. Our main character is fighting for top student, so they qualify for scholarships. Crushes happen, burnout happens, and rivalry happens. Feel-good story with well-thought-out complex emotions, very queer-friendly. This was such a cute book. Trans characters, gay characters, complicated romance, the feeling of burnout. Also, I just like the idea of culinary magic. Very fun. And there was a really good twist kind of in the center, so if that sounds great, check it out. It's a super cute read. The art style's adorable, and if you do happen to read it, I think we can all agree Tomato is just so cute. Next I have The Coal, Volume 1. I picked this up out of the adult graphic novel section. I don't think I have a rating for it. But the art was so realistically rendered. It blew my mind. I picked the book up, read the book in like a day. It was stunning. The art was beautiful. The storytelling was very encapsulating. I can't figure out if there's going to be a second volume. So if you have any information on this, like I said, I will put the book up here with the author on it. If you know anything about this series, please let me know down in the comments, because I would kill... I wouldn't, but I would. To get my hands on volume 2 to continue this story. Because it was really stunning. You get a group of teenagers, older teenagers, and they go out to go film the shoot. One of them is missing their brother, and they kind of fall into this, like, ethereal dimension, and some of them gain powers, and when they come back, it's a weird post-apocalyptic setting. Highly recommend it. The creatures in the the in-between dimension are so creatively thought out. Beautiful. Absolutely beautifully done. I really hope I can get my hands on a volume 2 if they release one. Yeah. A Bite of Pepper. This was a cute vampire graphic novel about, they're born vampires, but you don't turn into a full-blown vampire or start aging or stop aging until you, like, go through this specific ceremony. And this girl is just really into skateboarding and then feels pressured into turning and stop aging, and she kind of just runs away from the problems, and it's navigating that whole situation with the pressure of her mom and her brother and her love for skateboarding and wanting to feel a sense of normalcy for a little while. Really cute read. Very cute read. And the art style is, like, if I remember correctly, like, in blue and pink. It was really great. Five Nights at Freddy's Frights Volume 4 and 5. I read volumes 1 through 3 in December. I read volumes 4 and 5 in end of January, beginning of February. They're terrible. I'm a big Five Nights at Freddy's fan, and the Fazbear Fright series, I tried to read the actual novels, and then I hated the writing, and so I moved over to the graphic novels, and the graphic novels are good. The art is okay in some of them. They changed the art styles out a decent bit, which I do enjoy, but overall, I stopped reading after volume 5, and I probably will not pick it up and continue it because I am not having a good time reading them. Like, I like Five Nights at Freddy's, and it just feels like a drag to get through, and so I just stopped reading them. They're mediocre at best, which is crazy because Five Nights at Freddy's as a whole has been a huge, like, hyperfixation for me since it came out when I was 12. Herding Cats... cute. I mean, it's just a compilation of Instagram, like what she posts on Instagram, but converted into book form. I read it. My husband read it. It's cute. Nothing crazy because it's stuff I'd seen. I just went through and read it all in order. It was really fun. Astral Panic. Oh, man. Astral Panic was actually a graphic novel that my husband picked out because it was, it piqued his interest. And then he does the thing where he, like, grabs something and he's like, eh. And I was like, well, put it in my stack. And he goes, yeah, you read it and let me know if it's worth it. Anyway. I'll get him for that one day. It was genuinely good. I had a hard time kind of following what the storyline was, and I didn't really piece everything together until the very end because everything on the page is colored and there's so much detail and it's very overwhelming, and then you get to the end of the book and that's actually exactly the point. It is basically about an art student that is so overwhelmed with anxiety and how their new roommate and them kind of, like, navigate that process and trying to figure out certain things that trigger the anxiety and overcoming that. It was a really great read. My husband ended up reading it directly after me and had a similar thing where he was like, it just felt so overwhelming, and then you got to the end and just kind of pieced it all together. And I was like, Masks. Okay. This was in the teen graphic novel section. I gotta say, it didn't deliver the way that I had hoped it would deliver. Its overall premise is monsters living in a society, in human society, and there are, like, monster hunters, and then someone saves a younger one, and that one grows up, and they're trying to navigate trying to find a new home or trying to find the safe haven. because the place that they were staying in an abandoned area is getting demolished. It really truly didn't feel like the stakes were all that high. And that's kind of what, by the end of the book, made it kind of okay for me. Rainbow Volume 1 and 2, this was a, like, tapas, like, webcomic that was published into a hardcover. It was a queer story about, like, a very feminine girl, but her mom is very much a user when it comes to drugs and alcohol, and so she's just kind of like making ends meet, and she cares about her mom, but her mom is very much not present in her life. And then there's the new kid in town who's also very queer, and their family is very not accepting of that queerness, and their dynamic together and how they meet and how they interact and how they eventually fall in love. And it was a really cute graphic novel. I'm glad I found it in the library because it's something, I don't have tapas, so like that's something I wouldn't have known about had it not been published and put in my local library. So that was really cool. Unfamiliar Volume 1. Unfamiliar. This sounds familiar. It sounds familiar. Why am I blanking on that one? Like, is there really no noticeable features?
Hey, editing Chris here. I just looked into Unfamiliar, the graphic novel that I could not remember to save my life, and when I looked into it, which it'll be up on the screen here in just a second, the reason I forgot about it was because it was so lackluster that I genuinely forgot the entire plot because there wasn't really much of a plot. It's basically about a witch, coming into a new town and meeting some people and exorcising some ghosts in her new house. And it's volume 1. There is, I believe, more of this, and I was so not interested in reading any more of it. So, I don't know, it just didn't catch my attention. So that is the breakdown of that, because editing Chris is sitting here doing my thing, and then I still couldn't remember even during editing. So now this is your update.
Unfamiliar. Apparently I read it and I can't remember what it was about. That's sad. That had no noticeable notes in my brain for me to remember what I read. So we're gonna move on. I Heard Skull Crusher Volume 1. Oh my god. I can't find Volume 2. It is out. But Volume 2 is not available at my local library or any of the surrounding libraries or the libraries in 2 other counties near me. I'm mad. So I was considering putting in a request at my library to maybe have them purchase Volume 2 because I want to know what happens next because it's so good. Post-apocalyptic war, or oh my god. It's a post-apocalyptic story, but it's, basically the ruler of everything has this, like, paintball tournament where it's kind of like soccer, but you can use whatever, like your hands and stuff, but you also, like, get points for killing other teammates. Really gruesome comic. I loved it. It really gave me Tank Girl vibes, and I just ate it up. And I'm so sad that I can't get my hands on Volume 2 quite yet, but that's okay. When it comes out, I will be equally as excited to read it when I get my hands on it. And whenever they decide to publish Volume 3. The issues are available online, but I'm gonna hold off because I can wait, and that's okay. Carios. Oh my god. Carios hurt my feelings. The ending was so bittersweet. God. My buddy Wade picked it up in the adult graphic novel section and was like, whoa, look at this cover. And I was like, oh, cool. You should get it. And then, as per usual, he was like, no. And then he went to go put it back, and I was like, just drop it on my stack of books. I read it, and it was so beautiful. The art is great. You're gonna hear me say that a lot. I just fucking love art, man. Artists just fuel the world, okay? Without artists, we would be nothing. Anyways. Kairos is about just couple, except one of them is a ruler in another dimension, and she gets kidnapped and brought back Trigger warning though, because there are themes of incestual marriage in the family, in this like second world, because it's like the only way to pass on a specific genetic power. It made me a little uncomfortable just because I wasn't anticipating that going in, so trigger warning if you do decide you want to go read that. And then it's the power struggle of the male character who lived on Earth coming through that and slowly turning into one of the creatures on that planet or in that dimension, and fighting his way to go find her. Because he is nothing without her. And it's so good, and it's so brutal, and he is just a killing machine the whole book. And it was good, but the ending left me absolutely heartbroken, and definitely I recommend it. It was really, really good. Red Threads. This was about a magic school on an island in Japan. And it's about these two girls, and there is a creature in the magic school that is killing students and taking away their shadows, which is connected to the souls of people. And it's her learning how to do these magics and attuning to the magic inside of her, while also trying to help the school figure out what is going on. It was a young adult graphic novel. It was good. I was hoping the stakes were a little higher. The ending was kind of like, okay, everything's tied up in a neat bow, have a good day, which is not a problem if that's what you're looking for. I was just kind of hoping for some more stakes into it, or a little more like background knowledge into some of the gods that they brought up. But it was good overall. Great overall. Ephemera, I cried. It's more of a poem of a graphic novel. It's a memoir about someone's mom fighting through mental distress and what it was like for her as a kid witnessing it firsthand. There is a lot of beautiful watercolor style artwork and very little text in the book. And oh my gosh, I cried like a baby by the end of it. Just because I'm an emotional wreck sometimes. It was a very good memoir, but it was very sad. The Librarian of Auschwitz came out of the young adult graphic novel section. Pretty straightforward on what you're going to get out of that. Go into that, obviously, knowing that it is heavy, it is sad, and I, again, cried my little eyes out. So we have The Little Red Fish. It's, there's a lot of blood. There's a lot of, heavy themes when it comes to dictatorship or people misusing power and ruthlessly killing for the greater good of civilization. Overall, the biggest theme was it doesn't matter how much power you have, it's who you put the power in the hands of. And by the end of the book, I just sat on the couch and my husband was like playing video games and he was like, oh hey, how was your book? And I was like, you gotta give me a second. Like, I gotta sit here and like think. And last but not least, in my graphic novel section, I had Mooncakes, which is a graphic novel I own. It's really funny, actually. Only one of these out of the 23 graphic novels that I've read this year is actually on my bookshelf. It's another magic graphic novel, coming of age, queer characters, and then some possession, and again, some like running away from home because home life isn't necessarily good. So those were my graphic novels. I recommend most of them, but not all of them. So I have read 14 regular novels in the last 4 months. Like I said, I'm not a very fast reader. I have books over 300 pages, and then I have books under 300 pages. That's just how I broke it up this year. So we're going to start with books over 300 pages because I only have 5 on that list. Books over 300 pages or at 300 pages for some reason look so daunting to me. And so I have kind of a hard time like committing to a 300 page book. I'm currently in the middle of The Forest of Hands and Teeth by Carrie Ryan. And It is also over 300 pages. I'm working through that because I have some books on my shelf that are well over 500 pages. I think I only have a couple, but I would like to get to them and not feel so much like weight and commitment to get into that, which is probably a silly thing to say, but I do feel that way. So, books I've read, we're gonna just put these three in a section. I read the trilogy Berserk by Michael Grant a long time ago. I read Gone by Michael Grant. I really liked it. It's a series that got me back into reading. Would I recommend it to people to get back into reading? No. That's for another day. I read the trilogy Berserk. A lot of teenagers are part of an organization fighting another organization of teenagers and adults that are trying to take over the world to create a hive mind to create world peace, and then the Berserk team is trying to stop them because the people in the world should have free will, even if it means people make bad decisions. That's the long and short of it. Book 1 is like breaking that out. Book 2 is more subplot to a specific subset of characters. And then Book 3 is just all-out warfare and apocalypse. And the ending sucked. I have a rant review for this whole trilogy that I'd love to do a breakdown of because I was so mad. But the problem is when I do that breakdown, I really want my corkboard behind me and the red string because there are so many names, and then those names are tied to code names, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. So there's just so much happening in that trilogy. I don't necessarily recommend it. I do have a breakdown in this, but I'm not going to read it to you because it's really long. Next I have The Wood by Chelsea Boblinski. God damn, why can I never say her name? That one was a young adult graphic novel. So was Berserk, by the way. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Berserk is also a young adult trilogy. The Wood was pretty good. Okay. This is a young adult horror about a set of woods that they always call the Wood, which bugged me actually a lot more than I would like to admit in the book. It's not called the Woods, it's called the Wood. And that is how they refer to it the whole book, and I don't know why it bothered me. I started this on March 6th, finished it in 10 days on March 16th. I pulled it off my bookshelf. I'd gotten it at a library sale. It looked interesting. I like horror novels. I will say the horror element was a little lackluster, but also it's a young adult novel. I'm not going to sit here and pick it apart for its horror aspect. I gave the book 3.5 stars. Basically, it's a young teen. Father goes missing. She's left to guard and help lost travelers through the woods. And people wish to use its power for changing the past, but is the way you change the past the way I would change the past to make the future better? And that's kind of the principle of the story. Overall, it was a really good book. I did enjoy it. The romance aspect of it with the younger guy from like the 1800s was really good, and I like that they didn't they left it at a really good point with closure. I actually would recommend this book for teens that have maybe lost a parent before, because it does a really good job portraying loss and grieving in a very healthy manner. So, and then last but not least on books over 300 pages is Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. I recently just finished this. I just tried to do a book breakdown that I'm going to try to edit. I don't really like how my book breakdown went, but I might upload it anyways. I rated Hemlock and Silver 4 stars. I had a great time with it. It's about a poisons expert, Anya, who is summoned by the king, who believes that his daughter is being poisoned by something, to which she falls through a mirror dimension and finds lots of twists and turns, and I could not have predicted that ending, I'll be so real. It was really good. The only downside I had with this was the beginning half of the book felt very historical fiction, or I guess more believable fiction fantasy, and then middle of the book it feels like it sucker punches you into the actual fantasy realm by tripping you into the mirror dimension. So that was my only big complaint and the reason I knocked a star off of it. But overall, the book was really, really good, and I absolutely loved how it ended. And yeah, that's what I got. Next up, I have books under 300 pages. A lot of these are actually under 150 pages because of that series I'm doing that everyone knows about, so I'm not gonna say it. First up, we have The Pale House Devil by Richard Caudry. I rated this 3.5 stars. I rated the second book, I believe, 4 or 4.5 stars because it was really good and I accidentally read them out of order. The Pale House Devil is technically the first one in this series. It is really good. It's like a noir detective, supernatural, like, horror is what it was advertised as, and let me tell you, it felt more comedic. This duo is so funny. They are, kill for hires, and basically they just, like, mess up and then go to California to try to find work while things blow over in New York. And then they come across some work, and then they find out that maybe it's not all it's cracked out to be, and that old man might be nuts. And they get themselves in the weirdest situations.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
And then to follow that up, I also read The Flesh King, which was even funnier because now we're a trio, and we're back in New York looking for work, and to get work, they've made a pact with the local gang to hunt down this, like, cryptid monster, so that they can all get back to work. And it cracked me up, and the descriptors and the point of view from the monster itself was really cool. So these noir detective guys are just hilarious. And I really hope that Richard Caudry continues with these characters because they are so easy to get involved with and they're so easy to fall in love with as just people. They're great. Next up, we have The Scourge Between Stars. I rated this 5 stars. I am not the biggest sci-fi person, and I rated this book 5 stars. It is emotional. There is a very, very in the background queer romance going on. Like, it's not forefront of the story at all. I started this on the 17th of February and finished it on the 19th of February. I devoured this book wholeheartedly. This is by Ness Brown. This is her only book. I know that she's working on another book, not in the same series, but if she ever releases, or whenever she releases that, I am going to be on top of that because this was such a good book. And I absolutely highly recommend that you go to your local library and see if they have it because, oh my god, there was so much suspense. It had me on the edge of my seat. It was just really great storytelling. It's space monsters, but it's traveling from a planet we tried to inhabit and failed, and now we're traveling back to Earth to see if we can inhabit Earth, but she's never really been on either of those planets. She was, like, born and raised on the ship, so you don't get the, well, back when Earth was still alive, or back when Earth was dying. Like, you don't get that, and it's so refreshing to have something where someone's not always flashbacking to the good old days or the bad old days.
I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days.
This was great. Phenomenal read. Highly, highly recommend her writing. It was so good. Oh my gosh. Next up, I have 9 Goblins, also by T. Kingfisher. This is one of the books that I broke my book buying ban for. Which, for the record, I broke my book buying ban twice this year. Once to buy 9 Goblins, because I was really excited about it, just for it to disappoint me. For my own, it was my own fault, but also, we'll get into that. The second one is I bought the pre-order for the signed limited edition graphic version of Legends and Lattes, because Legends and Lattes is one of my favorite books. So I got the graphic novel adaptation. And I'm very excited to receive that in October, and I haven't bought any books since, because I'm genuinely really, really trying to stick to my book buying ban until I can get through a lot of my physical TBR before I go and do any more books. Also, I'm utilizing my local library more, because I am in a 1-bedroom apartment, and I don't have a lot of space. So, 9 Goblins by T. Kingfisher is about the Goblin War with the humans and the elves and the wizards and how the goblins are getting pushed out of every nook and cranny, and they finally have enough, and when they come to them and they're like, hey, you're pushing us out of every nook and cranny, and they basically just don't take them seriously, so they start a war, and it's just them going at it, just trying to fight through this war, and then they get teleported into a town with an even darker problem, which was a really big twist. Forewarning, there is some pretty graphic details of some dead things that, like, not like human dead things or adult dead things. So if that's like a big no-no for you, like animals or children, do not read this book. So just forewarning. Next I have The Strange Library. Is a novella, horror fantasy. I, funnily enough, do not have a rating on this because I couldn't tell you how to rate this book. It's a book you can read in about 20 to 30 minutes. Go find it if you can. Go read it if you can. I'm not even going to tell you anything about the book. I'm going to put the cover up here. It kind of broke my brain a little bit. Like I said, there's no rating for it because I wouldn't even know where to begin to rate that book. Give it a try. Next up, I have Recitative by Toni Morrison, which is a story about one black woman and one white woman, and you are never told who is who, and the whole book is a social experiment. I don't know if that's necessarily the right word. I went into it, and I knew what I was getting into when I got the book, and so I went into it with, I'm going to decide in my brain which is which, and I'm going to see if I can stick with that same opinion the whole book. And I couldn't. Which tells me that I do have some internal biases that I needed to look into. So don't worry, I've been breaking that down slowly because there was things there I didn't know about, and reading that book really opened my eyes to that. Next up I have Tusk Love. This was a fantasy romance. I rated this 5 stars. With a quick opinion of the book, I circled dripping sexual tension.
Wow! Okay!
I'm not a big romance reader. I've noticed a lot of my books have like background romances, which is not a big deal, but it's not the forefront of the plot. When I got this, I was like, cool, D&D thing, it'll be cool. It's gonna be like these two people like slowly falling in love, yada yada yada, but it's also gonna be like action-packed adventure. Yeah! It's called Tusk Love, so I know it's gonna be a romance, right? But I was like, yes, D&D adventure. If you're looking for the sexual tension, the yearning, if you're really into spicy books, that's it. I didn't realize that there was a ton of sex in this book, and I made it to the first part and literally just was staring at my book like, I'm pretty sure my face turned like lobster red. I was like, I'm just, what am I reading? Next I have Riots I've Known by Ryan Chapman. You've heard me talk about this book probably too many times if you've continued watching this channel. I wouldn't recommend it necessarily unless you are an incredibly well-versed reader. I read this book. I don't have a star rating for this book because I didn't comprehend the book to its fullest potential. This book was above my reading level. It took me a very, very long time to read through 117 pages because I didn't 100% know what was going on. There's a lot of big words that I didn't understand that I had to go look up. There's a lot of nuance. If you are a well-versed reader, absolutely give it a go. If you're a first-time reader trying to get back into reading, do not go that route. That definitely challenged my reading skills and reading comprehensions to the max. I'll be completely honest. Very difficult read for me, but I did it. I'm proud of myself for doing it, and I'm hoping that I can come back to that book in a couple of years and maybe understand it a little better. And last but not least, I have Imaginary Borders. This is the Pocket Change collection or collective. This was about just the strongholds and just borders we stick on ourselves and our our older generations stick on the younger generations when it comes to trying to create change. This is the second book in the Pocket Change collection that I have read. They are very short, they're very informative, and I recommend you check them out if you're looking for nonfiction active speakers. They're really good and short and easy reads with lots of information by lots of different voices. So, yeah, that's everything that I have read so far. Yeah, like I said, I'm currently in the middle of, not in the middle, I'm in like chapter 7 now of The Forest of Hands and Teeth, and I'm uncomfortable. It's definitely a horror book, and I'm uncomfortable, but there's a ton of religious overtones, which I've found out make me a little uncomfy for probably personal reasons growing up. We're getting through it, though. The book is very interesting. I'll give it that. Yeah, that's all I have. That's pretty much it, so I'll never know how to end these things.
See ya.